Hi, I'm Anna, a 19-year-old girl living in California with my big Asian American family, so I am mixed. My dad is American and my mom is Japanese. There are my parents, an older sister 5 years older than me, and my family. They raised me with the utmost love and care anyone could ask for, and I'm not lying when I say that they'd readily die for me. I have grown up in a traditional family that I always receive loving care and sometimes the pretty tough education of my parents. But I have enormous respect for them because they had to work very hard to raise us and support this family. They've always set the very best examples for me. They're both supportive and loving, but there is something that makes me feel unhappy. Except for the nice aspects, they're judgmental and get emotional easily. So this is the reason for the story I will tell today. What do you do when you find out that someone you love more than anything in the world actually has some bad qualities? About several months ago, I met my current boyfriend, who is the most amazing person I've met. I respect him a lot and his values. His name is Sean. He is 4 years older than me and he's of African descent. He's a real nice guy, well educated. I have a lot to learn from him on a professional level and personal level. My parents have never asked or tried to instigate my dating life, so there was no way around it, but I hadn't told them about him. I am afraid that they will overreact because they were quite strict. We decided to keep our relationship secret for a while until my parents found out. It was on a gentle Sunday. Such a beautiful day to go outside and enjoy the sunshine. Hand in hand, my boyfriend and I went for a walk in a nearby park. Suddenly, my parents came out of nowhere. They also had been walking here. Before I could run away, Mom stopped me. I trembled, waiting to see how they would react. I received the shock of my life when I saw their reaction to seeing my boyfriend for the first time. Upon finding out my boyfriend is black, they cannot hide the little shock on their faces. They were both silent and uncomfortable looking at Sean. I've never pegged them for racist people, and it was honestly unexpected. They tried to hide it, but I could see it on their faces that they didn't approve of. Before I could explain, they went away without asking me anything. When I came home, I saw my parents come down to the living room with a serious expression. The atmosphere became tense and they didn't say anything to me, just glanced at me. I felt sad. I don't know the reason why they reacted like that. My ex was white and they liked him, so they don't have a problem with interracial relationships. They just have a problem with my boyfriend being black. They didn't speak to me for a few days, so I felt very uncomfortable. After much thinking about it, I decided to take him to my house and introduced him to all my family's members. At the dinner, neither of them expressed any interest in him, and I even suggested my sister meet him, to which she quickly said she wasn't free the day I suggested, but didn't say she'd like to go another time. When I first told my sister I'm dating a black man, she started going on about her terrible dates with black men and how she generally doesn't like them. The last guy I dated briefly, so just dates not a relationship, was white, and she was always asking about him and for dating updates. They are extremely ignorant and have said negative things that it is inconvenient to mention here. Since then, they're just never liked the guy and have always been really nitpicky about him, criticizing him about the smallest things. They always judging every single thing he says and does very harshly, etc. behind his back. At first, I was incredibly pissed off, but I tried to reason with them and get to the bottom of why they felt this way. They think all black people are similar to the way they're portrayed in racist stereotypes. This is all despite the fact that he's nothing like the racist stereotypes that portray black people. He's a college-educated, well-dressed, well-spoken man with a good job and a decent salary. I've tried time and again to convince them that he's a really good man, that he loves me and care about me, but all to no avail. Even my grandparents also didn't approve of our relationship. Another thing that really confuses me is my mom, who is Asian. My paternal grandparents were apparently not only okay with their son marrying an Asian woman. They loved her like she was their own daughter. They're also good friends with my maternal grandparents, who are from Japan or Singapore. When my maternal grandparents found out, they weren't too happy either. And they were actually much more direct about it compared to my paternal grandparents. I couldn't explain this confusing thing. I honestly don't know what to do. my boyfriend has always sort of known that my parents didn't really like him, but he doesn't suspect that it's because of his face. I know that they are the older generation, so it's difficult to change their point of view. But I just want them to be more open-minded and accepting of my relationship. When I told my parents that I was in a serious relationship with him, which means that we will be able to get moves in future, my dad even gave me a hurt slap full of anger. That time, unlike before, they didn't make excuses about why they didn't like him and just straight up confessed to having a problem with his face. My parents even said that if I go on a date with him, I will be refused to see them ever again. I have never felt as desperate as then and cried a lot. All my life, I've always been a good daughter, meeting or exceeding their expectations. But I was not free love even though I'm 19 years old. My friends have all unanimously sided against my parents and said stuff like they don't get to dictate what you do with your life, or tell them to either accept it or you'll cut them off permanently, just cut them off, they're toxic people, etc. While my parents are definitely in the wrong about this, I can't even begin to fathom cutting them out of my life. They gave everything they had and more to raise me and give me the best life they could. They're the reason I am who I am today. They were always there for me, took care of my every need and always put me above themselves. How can I just abandon them like this, after everything they've done for me? On the other hand, I can't imagine losing Sean either. I also come clean to Sean about why my parents hate him like that. I did that, and he reacted in a surprisingly calm manner. I asked him how's taking it so well, and he told me he's experienced something similar before. After thinking for many days and nights, I gave my parents an earful and told them straight up that they had no right to say the kind of stuff they said about Sean and that it was extremely rude. They tried to say stuff like we only want what's best for you, etc., but I shut that shit down and told them I won't speak to them again unless they treat him with respect. I'm even not asking for a blessing to get married, but I just wish they could be open-minded and just be happy that I'm happy. And we were arguing for more than half an hour. My parents seemed powerless to act, they were finally speechless. I just remember my dad threw all of my stuff and yelled at me that he would never see me as his own daughter. I can't bear it anymore, so I decided to move out and started making my own money for living, so I can be independent from my parents. That day I left my house, my parents didn't glance at me for the last time. I'd been obedient and loyal to them my whole life, but hearing their threats and overall control over me, that me choosing to be happy was somehow wrong in their eyes. I packed my things, all essential, very little savings, and said goodbye to them. The only way they could understand I was serious is that they cannot treat me this way, and I had to walk away from them and their expectations. I know that some people would say that I'm overreacting and my parents just want to be good for me, but I believe in my decision. Since that day, I have not made contact with them, we became strangers. I feel like I am a much stronger person than I have ever been. Even sometimes, I still miss my parents so much and rethinking came back home. But, I only live once, so I know that I have to live with my decisions for the rest of my life. After taking a step back and spending time in reflection, I finally did realize that parents were super wrong and racist. And it's hard to make them change their mindset that they've drowned in. When parents or older people teach their kids, always remember that they are free to love, date, and marry who they love, so the world can be a more peaceful, accepting, loving, and colorful place. Everyone in the world all deserve to be loved, even if any kind of gender, color of skin, ethnicities.